Is Keith Thurman overrated? That's a question I have for Arks because there's a small but growing contingent of people on YouTube who seem convinced that Keith Thurman is being protected and being treated with kid gloves, and that he's basically little more than a hype job. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it seems to me that people are implying about Keith Thurman. Now, I think a case could be made that most fighters today in boxing are hype jobs to one degree or another, including people like Vladimir Klitschko, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. And when I say hype job, I mean the hype around them is, it makes them out to be greater than they really are. The general hype around them. So there's a case that you could call anyone a hype job if you really want to take a fine-tooth comb to their resume. But with regards to Keith Thurman, in terms of him being protected or treated with kid gloves, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. Keith Thurman has taken on Carlos Quintana, who's a former world champion, stopped him in 4 rounds. Then he fought Jan Zavik, who's a former world champion, beat him unanimous decision over 12 rounds, complete shutout. Then he fought a very dangerous fight against a big punching Argentinian, Diego Chavez, knocked him out in 10 rounds. That was a dangerous fight. Then he fought Jesus Soto Karass. Okay, Karass is a journeyman, a high-level journeyman, but he was supposed to be fighting Robert Guerrero. Let's not forget about that. He was supposed to be fighting Guerrero. Guerrero didn't want to fight, so in stepped Soto Karass. Then he fought Julio Diaz, as we just saw last weekend. Diaz is a big puncher. Okay, most of his knockouts was at the lower weights, but nonetheless, he managed to drop Amir Khan and hurt Amir Khan severely. He managed to give Shawn Porter all he could handle in 2 fights. The first fight, most people felt he beat Shawn Porter. So I don't see how this is a person who's been treated with kid gloves and not put in dangerous fights or testing fights. I think they've got him the most dangerous fights they could possibly get him. I don't see any cynical management or building him up to be something that he's not. I don't see that. And let's not forget again that they tried to match him with Marcus Maidana earlier on in his career. I believe it was around the time of the Zavik or Quintana fights. They tried to match Keith Thurman with Marcus Maidana. Maidana pulled out of the fight. And yet there are some people saying that they don't put him in with big punches or they keep him away from big punches. Is Maidana not a big puncher? And they wanted to put him in with Maidana earlier on in his career, several fights back, and Maidana didn't want it. So I completely disagree with the notion that he's being kept away from punches or he's being treated with kid gloves. I think they're matching him as tough as they can possibly match him, but there's a lack of opponents that are willing to get in the ring with him. I think that's what the truth is, because who else is there at 147 that's a puncher? Maidana is one of the biggest punchers at 147. Who is there that's a puncher at 147? There isn't really any devastating punches at 147. So I don't really see that particular argument as being valid, but it is what it is. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Now, how far Keith Thurman can go, I don't know. So far, so good. That's what I will say. There's also couple of people in my Facebook group who are saying that Shawn Porter would destroy Keith Thurman. Shawn Porter's light years ahead of Keith Thurman. Again, I don't really understand that point of view when Keith Thurman clearly did better against Julio Diaz than Shawn Porter did. So if Shawn Porter is light years ahead, and you've only been saying this since he beat Malignaggi. None of you guys were saying this before he beat Malignaggi. Is beating Paulie Malignaggi and knocking him out that impressive? This is the same Malignaggi who got stopped by Ricky Hatton and Amir Khan several years ago. Okay, so Shawn Porter comes and does it early in 4 rounds. Is that impressive? Like, is that so amazing to you people that he was able to get Malignaggi out of there? A guy who can't punch, a guy whose best days are well behind him, and even in his prime, he was still losing to people like Ricky Hatton. So is that impressive? I don't get it. To me, Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter are on the same kind of level. Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter, I was going to say Kell Brook, but not really. He hasn't fought the same kind of level as Thurman and Porter have fought at. So yeah, Thurman and Porter are on the same kind of level, and I see their fight as a 50-50 fight. I don't see Shawn Porter as light years ahead or anything like that. I see them both on the same kind of level, and it's a 50-50 fight. Yes, Keith Thurman dealt with Julio Diaz better than Shawn Porter did, but styles make fights. You know, if you put Shawn Porter in with one of Keith Thurman's other opponents, he might deal with them easier than Keith Thurman did. Who knows? But the point I'm making is I don't believe that Keith Thurman is being treated with kid gloves. Quite the opposite. I think they've tried to match him very, very tough, especially the Chavez fight. Chavez impressed me in that fight. If you go and watch the Chavez Keith Thurman fight on YouTube and just scroll down and take a look at some of the comments, most of the people, there's a lot of people actually in the comment section who seem to be more impressed with Chavez than they were with Thurman. Chavez's counter-punching ability, his power and all that. I see Diego Chavez as being a future world champion. You know, you can hold me to that, but I see him as being a future world champion. I think he's better than people realize. He impressed me with his skills in that fight. So yeah, Keith Thurman, I don't see him as a hype job no more than anyone else is a hype job. I don't think he's going to go undefeated for his career. Hell no. He's definitely going to suffer losses. No doubt about it. Okay, especially the way he fights, going all out and trying to knock everyone out. He's definitely going to suffer losses in his career. But that don't mean he's a hype job. You know, some of the greatest fighters of all time suffered losses. It's part of the game. You win some, you lose some. You know, your losses don't take away from your wins. If you've got wins over genuine competition, then you've got wins over genuine competition. If you then end up losing, then it is what it is. It's like Lennox Lewis. He beat far better people than Hasim Ratman and Oliver McCall in his career. Much better fighters. He beat people like Vitaly Klitschko. Okay? Loads of people. David Tua. Right? This is someone who beat Hasim Ratman. Right? Mike Tyson, Shannon Briggs when he was in his prime, Razor Ruddock when he was the #1 heavyweight in the world behind Mike Tyson. He beat a whole heap of people. Ray Mercer, he beat a whole bunch of people that were better than the guys who beat him. So his losses don't define him. It's his wins that define him. And the same will be the case with Keith Thurman. Or any boxer for that matter. It's your wins really and truly that are going to define you. If you've got enough wins over high level opposition, then that's going to outweigh any losses you might have. So I expect Keith Thurman to lose at some point or another. But I also expect him to pick up some very, very good wins. So that's just my 2 cents on it, man. Drop your comments in the comment section below. If you still feel, after what I've said, that Keith Thurman is being protected from serious competition or big punches or whatever the case may be, then state your case below and explain to me why. Because I just can't understand that point of view. Based on who they've tried to match Keith Thurman with already and who he's actually fought, I just don't see that point of view. Diego Chavez, okay, he hasn't fought out of Argentina and whatnot, but knockouts are knockouts at the end of the day. He's still knocking people out. Marcus Maidana was the same as Diego Chavez. So was Lucas Matisse. They were knocking people out in Argentina. And then what happened when they came over to America? They continued knocking people out. Yes, the guys he might be fighting are not necessarily the highest level, but he's obviously got some power there, or else he'd be like a Tim Bradley or a Paulie Malignaggi, who even when they were fighting journeymen, they were still not getting many knockouts. So anyway, drop your comments below. This is Hatman. I'm out.